Welcome, streamers or wannabe streamers. I am so happy that you're here because we've got a big show for you, a big topic today. Everything you need to know about bringing your church services online. So today we're going to tackle these things. You're going to learn the difference between live streaming a church service and virtual church, because a couple of things are going on right now and everybody needs something different. We're also going to talk tech setup options, from simple setups to get going quickly to super pro setups that will lead you into the future. And then also we'll talk about music. This with churches is a big one. What can you play on Facebook Live and YouTube Live? What should you avoid? All of that good stuff. And then we'll also talk about accepting offerings online, maybe some tips, suggestions, and of course, we will tackle Q&A as well to answer all of your questions. So I want you to go ahead and ask questions throughout this stream. My guests and I, we will talk and we're going to train and we're going to get you the info that you need. And then we will tackle Q&A and do an entire Q&A session at the end. So keep those questions coming. Our moderators are definitely gathering those questions up so that we can tackle them at the end. And all the links that we're talking about today are in the description of this video. We have a gear guide that has all of the stuff you need. And I see everybody in the house. So I've got Mike, I've got Michael. Mike and Michael. We've got Alan and your tech coach and Cakeology and Rachel and all the everybody's. Chris Stevens, thank you so much for being here. If you're new around here, please type new in the comments. I would love, love, love to meet you. And if you are new, I'm Larry Petrucci from Live Streaming Pros, and this show is called Go Live Now. It is a weekly show that I'm doing in partnership with Ecamm, my favorite live streaming software for the Mac. And today I have two very special guests to help me tackle this big question for churches as you face completely new challenges in a changing world. Dave Curley and Justin Nava from Church Training Academy. Welcome, guys.
Hey.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, here.
Yes. So happy to have you guys here. Now, Dave and I have actually been, we go way back. So I've been doing video and live video for 14 years. And
Right.
Dave, that's Justin, not Dave. Hold
Oh, here
on.
I am. Voice is going to catch up. Voice, catch up, voice.
Yeah,
There you are. The fun of Skype and changing, but yeah, so Dave and I gotta go way back. I've been doing video and live streaming for 14 years, Dave as well. And we learned through trial and error kind of how to do simple productions out of the room of a house. You remember that, Dave?
Oh, yeah, we started in a bedroom, yeah.
And then we also worked our way up to huge productions and events like producing the official NAB show live stream and things like that. So it's been quite the journey.
Yeah, it has. We've done, I was thinking about how many videos, I mean, just you and I did together. I mean, we did between Geek Brief and Geek Beat, we did maybe 1,500 or so just reported daily videos, that kind of thing. And then hundreds of
Actually,
hours
I think it was more like 3,000 or so. Yeah, 3,000, 4,000. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not that
crazy.
No, but yeah, it's been thousands of videos and thousands of hours of live content and stuff that we've done. I mean, we were there when it was like getting started. I remember like the first thing that you and I did was something on Quick or something on like the
Quick.
first iPhone.
First
we got
thing.
thrown out of Fry's for trying to live stream in there, showing our friend Steve what Fry's was like.
And now live streaming has really taken a turn, especially in the crisis that we're in. And these days, everybody needs to live stream. And so that's why my partner, David Foster, and I, who, yes, they often get mistaken for each other. So David and I actually teach.
Surround yourself with really good-looking guys.
So we at Live Streaming Pros teach entrepreneurs and video creators how to create professional live video, and then Dave Curley, this guy, And Justin Nava, they actually teach churches how to stream at Church Training Academy. So I thought they'd be perfect guests for today's topic. So let's get down to business. What do you guys say?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So I think first we should talk about the difference between live streaming a church service and virtual church. You guys, can you talk about, what you're seeing churches needing? Because you're in that world so deep. Right. What are people needing to do, and what are the different options that they have for coming online?
Well, first off, one of the main things that churches need to understand is, and everybody in general really, is there's a difference between live streaming your church service and doing virtual church. A lot of churches have a lot of churches over the years have gotten into live streaming and have come to us and said, how do we start live streaming our service and stuff like that? And when you step back and take a look at what it is that they're doing on a Sunday morning, when you step back from the ministry aspect of it and just physically look at what's happening technically, every single week that church is producing a live event that has like workshops and breakout sessions, which they call Bible study and Sunday school and life groups and whatever those churches are calling it. They have a keynote address, a keynote speaker. Before that keynote speaker, there's a mini concert. So you're doing breakout sessions, you're doing a mini concert, then you're doing a keynote speaking, and then there may be another little bit of the mini concert at the end, and then there's like meet and greet. So technically that's what's happening. So being able to live stream that, the mentality of someone who's viewing that is that they are joining this live event as it's happening in progress. Just like, Luria, the conferences that you and I did, that we spoke at, that we live streamed conferences, we did all sorts of stuff. When we were doing the church, what is it called? The CES. When we would be live streaming for CES. Those people were joining us at CES, watching what was happening there. So live streaming an event is one thing, and production goes a certain way. We've now moved into, at least for a time, the need for virtual church, which is everything that is going on at the church throughout the week, not only just the Sunday morning service or a Sunday evening service or Bible studies or the men's Bible study that meets on Monday night or the Wednesday night youth Bible study, all these things, including things for the little kids that may be happening on Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon, Awanas and all this other the children's programming. All of that kind of stuff has got to transition into a live environment.
Well, let me pick your brain here for a second, because does it all have to translate, or should you just pick the most? All of it's important.
All of it's important.
Okay, so you're saying you're an advocate of bringing everything that goes on in a physical church environment online. That's a big ask, Dave.
It is a big ask, but you have to analyze what it is that is happening. You have a communal experience. You have a group of people that could be a few dozen to hundreds to thousands of people that come together at regular times throughout the course of the week, not just the 100 and, the 2 hours or whatever on Sunday morning, but the other like 167 or whatever it is. They do things throughout the week. There are things that happen at any given church. Tuesday morning, women's Bible study, or something for at home or at home mothers, mothers of preschoolers, things like that. You've got all these things that are happening. We can't get together now, so we are missing that communal aspect. I can't remember the last time I hugged anybody other than my wife or my children. I can't remember right now the last hand I shook.
Yeah.
And
you're a hugger.
That's right. I'm a hugger. But that's so we have to supplement that. We have to keep people connected, because in this time where we physically can't get together, and one of the church's biggest selling points or biggest things that a church is
benefits
for,
or
values, whatever is the communal aspect. It's coming together. It's reassuring each other. It's, I've had a hard week, let me love on you and pray for you, that kind of thing. It's community, and it happens inside the building. It happens on the grounds. It happens throughout the week in homes and stuff. And if you can't do that, have that physical aspect, then we as the church, as church leadership, and we have to bring that as best we can to people right now because we are more isolated physically than ever.
And
so it is a big ask, and there's ways to do it.
Definitely. And I keep harping on the fact that, people need connection right now, not perfection. And,
Right.
I think that we all know, Justin, I'm sure you're seeing this as well. Everybody wants to have like the super pro stuff, but it's important right now to just dig in and have that connection. Like Dave has been saying, Justin, what are you seeing in terms of what does this look like in terms of actual application and the reality of what this looks like online? Like, paint the picture for us.
Yeah, what this looks like is going to be different for every church. I do web agency stuff as well as church training academy stuff for churches. And the first thing that you learn when you go into that working with churches across the country is every church is unique. If every church wasn't unique, every town would only have one church. But kind of the joke is, why are there three churches down one street?
Keep talking. I'll fix it over here.
So the joke is, why are there three churches down one street? Can't they all get along? What are they arguing about? Well, I mean, the fact is every church is uniquely equipped to serve and minister to a unique group of people. So because of that, every church is uniquely gifted to serve. Every church needs unique equipment and unique ways to do church online. And so the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what are we equipped to do right now? Just like if I was making a website for a church, I would say, what are you doing for nursery people right now, for babies? And they say, well, we don't have a nursery. So why in the world would you go copy a church website that has it like, oh, look at our nursery and look at these babies and look at all these toys we have, if you don't have a nursery yourself? So you got to make sure that your website reflects your church, and you have to make sure that the things you do online reflect your church. If you don't have a children's pastor or a children's minister, if you don't have someone directing your children's ministry, you're going to be spinning your wheels trying to do stuff for kids in church. Start with what you have and what you can do, and then move forward from there. One of my clients is they have a pastor, so the pastor's doing sermons every week. They have a children's leader. She's doing children's devotional throughout the week. They call it drive-by or drive-through devotional, but that's about it. Another church has small groups, and so each one of their group is meeting over Zoom and praying over each other. They have a group of deacons that are going to the store for their elderly, and they're bringing it to people, but they're meeting with them online. They're calling them. They're using this technology and streaming technology to get their message, to get their teaching, to get their encouragement. And yeah, they're using technology to meet over Zoom, but not only that, to bring it back to streaming, when you go to a prayer group or something on a Wednesday night, you are physically like limited by those four walls. Like if you want to know what's in the prayer group and what to pray for and what the lesson is, you have to get in your car, drive, fight traffic, go there, and only the people in that room can see it. But if you meet over Zoom, or if you use Ecamm or Skype like this, you can then broadcast it to your church group, and now everyone in the church can be involved, whether they can go or not. And that's a huge thing. So start with what you have right now, and find ways to get that along. And that's what me and Dave do a lot of, is we just coach and consult people on how they can take what they're doing right now. Don't look at the church across the street that has 3 times your staff and 6 times your budget and say, well, we can't spend $6,000 on streaming equipment, so we just can't do it. Start with what you have and what you can do, and go from there. So did that answer your question? I kind of went off a little bit
absolutely there. And you guys, hold on. This is an example of connection, not perfection, right?
Yeah.
So like, hey,
exactly.
This is the first time I've actually done multiple Skype guests through Ecamm, and hey, even though we tested it, it's live, things go wrong. And so you're going to see me fix it live, because I'm just going to go to this pip and I'm going to fix so we don't have 2 Justins here, and make sure.
And that's one of the things that Justin and I actually have to deal with a lot.
Yeah.
Is we hear people in churches, we hear part of the media team, but we're not going to start live streaming until we until it's perfect. We don't want to put out a cruddy product or something.
Right.
And I tell them, if you've got good audio, then the video doesn't have to be perfect. That's just in video production across the board. But the thing is, you have to realize what you're saying in that point. Mm-hmm. It's like we're dealing with people's lives here. We're dealing with people's souls. I mean, our job is to help showcase Christ and help them, the people that are participating in a live event or whatever, to deepen their relationship with the Lord. And when you're saying, hey, I'm not going to provide this outside the walls of the church, I'm not going to live stream like that. I know this sounds extreme, but it's tantamount to saying, I don't care if they go to hell or not. And I mean, that's the stakes that we're playing with. You know, it's like, I'm not going to go help that homeless person. I don't care if they starve to death. I mean, that's the thing. If you don't take the time to do that, you need to realize what you're saying. So perfection is never going to happen, period. It is not. And I'm a perfectionist. Luria, you can attest to this.
Yeah.
I've battled this my whole life.
For sure.
I am a perfectionist. You have to stop being perfect and seeking perfection and get it out there.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Now, real quick, Sarah asked, can you be a little bit more explicit about what a virtual church is? And then after you tackle this, we're actually going to start talking about the tech, because that's something that I know everybody needs to talk about.
So
Dave, you mind if I take this one?
Please, yes, go ahead.
So I'm gonna explain it a little bit. So imagine it. I'm younger, so I have friends that have gone through this. Virtual church versus a streaming church is the difference between a university classroom and an online class. I've taken both. I've taken a Spanish class through a community college online, and I've gone to university and actually been in a classroom. When you're in a classroom, you have unique experiences. You can immediately ask the professor questions. The professor can see if you're nodding off, if you're bored, if you're cheating, if you're, there is a unique experience there. And the professor really honestly gets to know you because you're in there before class. Professor's asking, how are you doing? How was your day? You're in there after class. You can ask the professor stuff. The professor sees you in the hall. And honestly, the professors kind of talk to each other, especially when you're in a small school like I went to. So if I slept in for my 8 o'clock class, my 11 o'clock professor would say, hey, Dr. Jones said you weren't in her class. Why are you here now? You kind of have that accountability. In an online class, the rules are gone, okay? You can knock off everything and do an entire semester's worth of class in the last week of school. You can have Google on another computer. You can have your wife do your homework. You can sleep during class. You can't really communicate with the professor except for email, which thousands of other kids are trying to do. And there is a purpose for online learning, and there's a purpose for virtual church. But that's kind of what we're talking about here. A local church can meet and do everything like what they want to do the mini conference like Dave was talking about, and then they can stream it out for people to participate and engage online, but there's still a local centerpiece. So that's the kind of like a university class meeting, and they have a cam in the back, and we called it ITV when I worked at a university. That might ring a bell for some people. And students who could not make it to class or could not make the commute could watch the broadcast of the classroom. Virtual churches are churches that have no local building. They have no local presence. They are entirely online. The pastor knows you by, for lack of a better word, your avatar, your username. He might check in with you, DM you, and there are some churches that are really striving to do online church the right way. They have membership roles, they have donations and giving, and they try to do local projects for people. If you have an online church and you have members in Houston, you might try to organize a community service or ministry opportunity in Houston that your church members can do. But everything is decentralized. So you come in, you might say at 11 o'clock, we're gonna have worship, and then we're gonna have a teaching, and we have different Facebook groups that might have a Zoom meeting during the week, like a Bible study, but you're not centralized. So your small group of young adults could have young adults in Seattle, Florida, New York, Texas, even across the world. That's what a virtual church is there is no local meeting. There is no anything like that. It's entirely online. And so the pastors lead you from the other side of the screen. They talk to you, they lead you, they do their best to minister to you, but entirely online. So there is no local force, whereas the streaming church, as what we might call it, is a local meeting, but you're allowed to participate by streaming via the camera or whatever in the background. And then you hopefully have a local in-person connection with that church eventually. That's kind of the goal.
Right.
I love it.
Right.
Sarah, does that help? And everybody else? I think that was a great explanation of it. Okay, let's keep moving here because we have a lot to cover. Still coming up,
Right.
We've got tech to talk about, which we're going to do right now. But then we also have to talk about music and accepting also, the offerings that you're used to getting, because this is a big concern for churches. So first, let's talk about tech, and then we'll get into all of the other stuff. Keep those questions coming. We're going to have Q&A at the end. So Dave, talk to me about some tech. Now, before you get into that, just know everybody, in the description, there are 2 links that I want you to pay attention to. One is the gear guide. It's a basic setup for like super simple and at-home productions. And then Dave Curley and Justin are also, I'm sorry, I keep calling you Curly because I've called you Curly for years. Dave and Justin have also a link in the description to go a little deeper, and Dave will explain what all of that is. So,
well, for that we have a resource that we put together. If you just go to easylivestreaming.com, you can get our little guide. It's called Live Streaming for Churches the Easy Way, and it's kind of an introduction to that. With that, Justin and I are heads down on a very in-depth gear guide that you guys will be able to, we get asked, for example, cameras, what camera should I get for live streaming? Okay, well, we've got some cameras that work really well for live streaming, and they go from one end to the other price-wise. But then we're also working on kits, like a kit for a pastor who's going to be doing some live streaming from his office.
Yeah.
A kit that you need to get your Zoom Bible studies working, things like that, and as well as things that are available to use right now to get started, but they can also be like the core that you build from when all this is over and we're all able to come back together as a community physically and begin live streaming our churches.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is we want to equip people now in this virtual model that they have to go through, but prepare them for doing both when the time comes and things loosen up.
And so what would you suggest in the here and now if they don't have anything yet?
A very basic setup would be to take a look at what they have. Okay, so if they have a laptop, then if we're getting down to brass tacks, they need a minimum of like an i5 laptop with like 8 gigs of RAM and decent hard drive space, and they need a webcam. Now, the ones that are built into our laptops, sometimes they're good, but that's really rare.
Yeah.
really rare. So they need to get something. You and I both love Logitech. They have made good, solid webcams for a couple of decades now.
Now let's break up here for a second, because just so you guys know, right now in the crisis that we're in, there's a lot of the tech that we might recommend that is not currently available for sale. It's all out of stock because guess what?
Everyone wants it,
right?
Is now doing video and live video, right? So be aware of the fact that you may not be able to get the things that we recommend. And if you do see it, be aware that there is a lot of price gouging going on, and people selling things like $30 products for $150, right? So you want to be aware of what the retail price is before you start buying stuff. And yeah, I'll just say that, and then you can keep going there.
So if I can speak to that real quick, there's an old saying, and I hope I'm not stepping on Dave's toes. There's an old saying, I don't know who said it first, but the best camera is the one you have.
Yes.
And I just looked at one of my clients' Facebook pages, and they have a pastor and their children's pastor, and they just have their phone. They have it sideways. One of them's in their car, one of them's in their office. And based on the analytics that I can see, they have just as many people watching on just their phone with medium rated audio and okay video, right? Your front-facing camera is never going to be as good as your back-facing or any camera that you could get, but they're getting just as many people tuning in online Facebook right now as they ever did stepping foot in the church.
Yep.
As long as you have authenticity, and I think most churches do have that, where we just want to serve you guys, okay? We're not going to wait till we have $1,000 to do this or $2,000 to do that. We just want to serve you guys here and now. Here's what we want you to know. Here's the encouragement we want you to have. Here's the good news that you can have. Honestly, we don't care whether you did it on a mirrorless DSLR or your iPhone 6. The best camera is the one you have. So if stuff is on back order, and I've talked to quite a few of my clients, and a lot of stuff is back ordered, and I tell them, just use your camera phone, and they're hesitant. But once they do, they see A, how easy it is, B, how much they were fretting about virtually very little, and C, you can even improve that.
Yeah.
You know, you do a video and you say, well, the audio didn't sound that good. Okay, pastor, get out of your office that's all walls and books and go into your bedroom where you have more blankets and rugs and stuff. Your audio is going to sound immediately better like that. You can still improve that by just moving towards a window, moving into a different room. There is still avenues to grow with just your phone. There's entire YouTube videos that have thousands of views and hundreds of subscribers with dudes just on their phones. It is possible. We just have to step out of the way and just let the message do the work.
Yeah.
And to piggyback on that, we actually have a series that we're putting out about getting started and using your webcam, or excuse me, your phone, shooting video with your phone. And this is a series that I started prior to all this happening, so that, you know, churches could get started doing things like their video announcements and things like that. You know, go set up in the hallway, and here's how to do it, and here's how to take, you know, with hardly any budget, you know, add a microphone and a selfie clip on a tripod that, you know, maybe you spend $50 and you can do it. And then the next one is adding a little bit more equipment, and the next one is a little bit more equipment. We call that indie mode for our shooting. Selfie mode's when you're running around holding it. You know, indie mode is when you're treating your phone more like a proper camera. And here's a little secret, folks. The accessories for these are the things that are not back ordered right now, because people are not going and buying the little $50 shotgun mic that you can plug into your iPhone. They're not buying the little $20 lavalier mic with the 20-foot cord that you can plug in. So those things you can get here by Friday, or you can get here by Monday. And that's so remember that. Those videos are in the process of being released over on our YouTube channel as well. So we're providing you guys with some training on doing that. That is literally the place to start before you do anything like that. If you want to add a little bit more quality to it, and do things like bringing in your slides, or showing your Bible scripture on the screen and all that, then you move up to doing desktop mode stuff, which is using your laptop or using your desktop computer with a webcam. And yes, the webcams right now, the camera that I'm using is a little Logitech. It's going for $300 if you can find it. So don't worry about that. Do use the one on your laptop, or the one that's on your iMac or something like that. But remember, it's a camera, so you will need to elevate. So like, get some books and stick it in there so that you're looking at it head on, and the people aren't looking up at your nose, and the beautiful molding you have up on the ceiling, that they don't need to be seeing that. So little things like that can get you started, and you can literally do this like with Zoom. We have a video on live streaming with Zoom that you guys can check out, where you don't even have to have someone else in the call. You could install Zoom, the pro version, $15 or something like that a month. You could install that, start a Zoom meeting, and then share it to your Facebook page or to the private group for your church, and just do it right there. You don't have to have any broadcast software. You don't have to have any things. You can still show your slides by sharing your screen. You can get started and wow everybody. Because right now, a lot of people in your church are just like, I wish I could be at church this Sunday.
Yeah. So so you mentioned Zoom, right? So you've got Zoom as an option. And again, for the higher tech stuff, I'm going to leave that out of this conversation and let you look at our guides. Like, we've got all the links in the description, because I think there are more, like, the most important thing is that you do, you know, the thing that needs to get done. And then, like Dave said, you can increase over time. So, in terms of the services, Zoom you mentioned, which is a super easy way to do that. Ecamm, which we're using right now, allows you to share your screen, allows you to have multiple guests, right? As you can see, it allows you to do all the things that you need, and you can still use the webcam that you have on your computer, right? Like, I mean, it's super simple. So again, connection, not perfection, is the key here to focus on. Now, Justin, you mentioned authenticity. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit, because I think I probably have a different view of this, but we haven't really talked about this. So in my opinion, churches right now have a massive opportunity to get more vulnerable and authentic with their congregation. So, you know, a lot of people are still going to the church and still up on stage doing the services live. And I think that that's totally fine. Like, that's a great option, right? Even though you're not speaking to a congregation, you are online. But the other alternative is literally to plop down in a chair at your home, turn on that camera, and get more personal. Rather than preaching or having a sermon, doing that in a more conversational way, answering questions throughout it. I think this is an amazing opportunity to really get more authentic with their congregation and create a much, much, much deeper connection with their, with their congregation. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, 100%. So, I'm not going to lay out a blanket statement because every church is unique and has unique needs. I personally, I'm not even a fan of 40-minute live stream sermons right now. I would rather see like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 10-minute sections instead of a 30-minute 3 bullet point sermon. I'd rather have 3 individual videos that I can watch in a sitting. It'd be a lot easier for me. But that's me.
Yeah.
Some pastors I talk to, they tried live streaming and they become pale in the face.
Yeah.
They have a hard time when they're not in an audience. And it's not just pastors. Have you watched Late Night recently? Colbert in his bathtub is not as good as Colbert on a stream, or Seth Meyers in his bathroom, Jimmy Fallon in his kitchen. There's a reason they do it live, and it's because it just works better for them. That's how they are prepared. And so pastors that have been doing this even longer than those guys, they only know how to do it from a stage, and they can sit here and have a one-on-one conversation with you and change your life. But as soon as they get in front of a camera, they go pale in the face and they have a hard time. And so for the sake of the message right away, they might need to go up on stage. On the same coin, on a different side, some people, they lack normalcy in their life. They're stuck at home. They can't go to church. They want that. They want to see the church in the background. They want to see some familiarity. And so for them, they actually appreciate the pastor and a small team, not breaking any quarantine rules, going to the church and doing what they want to do. And in addition to that, one of my clients is using Ecamm, and he mentioned how much he loves being able to still play videos. So he'll make a point, he'll play a video, they'll play an announcement video, they'll play a giving video, they'll play 2 or 3 videos within a sermon, and he can't do that streaming at home because he doesn't have the know-how, and he doesn't want to invite other people in his home and bring in something from the outside. Yeah. So there are benefits to both, and I think for most people, though, authentic pastor sitting in his chair, let's forego the 40-minute sermon and let's just talk.
Yeah.
Let me just share this word that got revealed to me, and let me share it with you. Do you have any questions? Then he comes back the next day. Okay, so we had some people that watched the stream late. They just watched the replay. They had some more questions. Let's get into that right now. I'm more of a fan of that. However, again, there's no one-size-fits-all shoe here, except for don't break your quarantine laws. Okay, if you're just not allowed to leave the house, don't go to your church office and stream, and don't go to your sanctuary to stream. You're breaking the law. Don't do that. But if for some reason, if you're in an area that hasn't been impacted or your county hasn't been locked down, and you feel more comfortable going to the church and streaming it there, and your tech team is okay with that too, go for it and see how it does. Or maybe you do both. 1 week you're at the church, 1 week you're at home. Look at your analytics. What do people like better? And then double down on that. Don't try to force what you're comfortable with. You might have to start live streaming from the pulpit because that's where your pastor's more comfortable, but you can ease into the live streaming from your couch. Again, every church is unique, and it's really hard to take what one church is doing and make it work for another one. Otherwise, again, why are there more than one church in a town? So start with what you can do, and then, but be malleable, be moldable, and you can work with people like me and Dave, or the people in our church media hacks group, and we can offer suggestions and pointers that maybe you haven't thought of. But the point is to always be improving. Don't just stop at your freshman 101 class and be happy with it. You have to work towards, those advanced classes. So go on from there.
So one thing I want to piggyback on that, if I can. one of the things that I've been seeing is, as churches have gotten started doing this, is that we were talking about the difference between live streaming your service and doing virtual church. They are still acting as if they are live streaming their services. Now, there's a difference between just being in the pulpit to do it, because that's what you're comfortable with, versus treating it like it's a regular Sunday morning. One of the things that churches need to do, and I'm telling you, you need to do this, you have to do this. You're a fool if you don't do this. That's how serious I am about it.
Oh, calling you out.
That's right. You've got to, number one, step out of your comfort zone. Number two, you need to, and the reason you need to step out of your comfort zone is because it's not about you, the pastor. It's not about you. It's about the people that you serve. Okay. You're serving people, and we're talking about people's lives and their souls here. So get yourself out of the equation. Now, the next thing is you need to get that camera from the media booth in the back of the room and get it up onto the stage, which means get a tripod. If you got hymnals all over the place, you're not using them, make a box of hymnals to stand.
Music stand.
You know what I'm saying? Whatever it takes, get it up on the stage. Even if you can't get out from behind the pulpit, put it next to the pulpit and stand there like this and talk to the camera. Just if that's what it takes to make you comfortable, that's fine. But we also have a lot of churches. Justin and I go to churches that are a little more organic, whereas there are a lot of churches, especially Catholic churches and Orthodox churches and Lutheran churches, that are much more liturgical in their services. They follow a prescribed series of steps that is a part of their worship experience, which means people come up and do communion, which means they do things up at this altar, they do things at this altar, things like that. You can still do all of that, okay? Because that is a part of reaching the people that you're serving, is providing them with as close to that experience that they get on a Sunday morning or on a Friday morning or whatever it is when they go to a mass. You get the camera up there and have a cameraman and do it at this podium where you normally do things. When it comes time to do communion or something like that, then you move over to, it doesn't have to be perfect. Pick it up, slide it over, and put it at the next place like that, so that he's standing in front of the communion table and he's doing. Try to give them the liturgical steps and worship experience that they're used to, but get that camera up close. Don't be shooting it from the back of the room, because one of the things that people that are watching are going to see, or what they're not going to see, is the back of heads.
Right.
And that's what they're used to seeing. They're used to seeing someone walking down the aisle. They're used to seeing the back of people's heads and all that. And you're doing a long Zoom or something, and it's a big empty room, and the priest doesn't have anything to look at. When that camera is there, you can start teaching them and training them. Talk to this lens. I'm talking to this stupid webcam right here. I haven't looked anywhere else. That's who I'm talking to, is you people in the audience. You're on the other side of that. Your pastor can learn to do that, just like he learns to speak to a mass of people all in there, and he picks 2 or 3 out that, I focus on Bob, I focus on Jill, and I focus on Tim, and then I go back to Bob, Jill, Tim. Same thing that you and I do, Luria, when we do workshops or public speaking or whatever. It's the same thing, but this time you're just going to focus right here on the camera.
And I will say this, so we actually have right now a 30-day challenge to get you more confident on camera. So if you are struggling with this, like both Dave and Justin have talked about, and that's a reality of this world, right? Like, people can have talked into 5,000, 10,000 people up on stage, and they have a really difficult time talking to the camera. I see it all the time. So I have a challenge for you guys, and I'm telling you what to say, what to do each day. We're guiding you through the process of gaining that confidence, and it's all done in a private Facebook group, so that you don't have to do it to your congregation or to, the public, where it's full of support. So that link is livestreamingpros.com/challenge if you want to get in there and just start practicing in between your streams to help you gain that confidence. So another thing is a lot of people are still asking about the gear. So let's tackle that just a little deeper. Now, if you guys have specific questions about your scenario, we'll tackle that in the Q&A section at the end. But you're asking what I'm using. So I am using a Sony a5100 with a capture card that brings the camera into Ecamm, which is the software I'm using. Now, This is great. Like, it looks great, right? You guys are saying that over and over in the comments. Again, connection, not perfection. Start with what you do, what you can get. Right now, you can't get capture cards. They come out and they get more stock in and they're gone within 10 minutes. So, it's something to be aware of. And actually, Ecamm, there are some Canons. Katie is going to throw a link in the comments, I'm sure, that there are some Canons that actually don't need a capture card with specifically Ecamm. You can use vMix on a PC, which a lot of churches have PCs, right? So vMix is a great option. You guys use that.
Right.
And so, that they're using webcams right now. So to answer those questions, like, again, you want to focus on simple setups, but like Dave was saying earlier, something that might lead you into the future when all of this craziness is over that you can take back to the church and use there.
So to kick up the quality, you were talking about using a capture card. A lot of churches haven't budgeted for this scenario.
Right.
Right now they may have. I mean, our church, we've been budgeting to add some things and add some extra lights and stuff like that to our stage, and kick up that presentation. But we didn't budget to buy a $5,000 camera or something. So one of the things that they can do, next level kind of thing, like you said, is the capture cards. One of the ones that I use and love is the Ultra Studio mini recorder from Blackmagic. This one is it's Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
But on at least consistently on PCs, using a Thunderbolt to USB-C converter works fine. I'm streaming with it, regularly every week. Works great. They're about $150. The capture cards that are external, like the CamLink and like these things are going fast because a lot of people have laptop stuff. You may want to look at the ones that actually plug in, the ones that go into the slots on your desktop computer if you have one. I do know that some of the Blackmagic next level stuff, like the shuttle, whatever it is, I can't remember off the head. It's a device that's about that wide and has a bunch of different plugs and stuff. Some of these things people are not thinking about. They're thinking about the one that we always talk about, which is the CamLink from Corsair Elgato. So those, there are other options that are out there, and some of them, the DeckLink Duo 2, things like that, that are PCI based, that you can drop in the back and hook up 2 cameras. That's fine. If you have the ability to get something like that, but you're looking for a camera and you don't have the budget, then you should start with like a Vixia. Lyria, you and I used Vixias for years. Live streaming and doing production that we got paid serious money for, using those cameras. I do a TV show, a broadcast TV show, 5 days a week with 2 Vixia cameras. So they're good. And what's cool about those cameras is they're $250 if you're buying an older, a couple of years old model. The newer ones are in the $300 to $350 range. They're small. They're camcorders. I've got one.
He's gonna grab it for you. There you go.
This one's over 10 years old.
Yeah.
Still working like a champ. But they're HD. They're 1080. They do a really good job. They have great picture, especially for the price. And what's cool about them is that, let's say you start now with your laptop and you've got vMix or OBS or Ecamm, and you're using a capture card like this that you've gotten for $150. Even if the ones that are name brand aren't out there, if you've taken the risk on one of those $50 USB 3 capture cards or something like that, and it's working for you, great. That's wonderful. You have a starting point, and then you can use that as you move back into the church setting and are looking to take it to the next level. That becomes your second camera. You then have budget. You then have, now let's spend $1,600 or $2,000 on a camera that is much higher quality, and this camera will be the one that is our wide shot in the back of the room, or our second camera or something. So starting with an inexpensive camcorder, you can still get great quality, but still stick to a very reasonable budget.
That's really good advice. Is just like starting small and then moving it to a secondary production. Now, Aaron, I just want to tackle this. There are. Oh, sorry. Hold on. That wasn't the question. Wrong.
He makes
one.
a good point, though.
Yes, exactly. Some capture cards are better than others. There is a quality difference with capture cards, and so you need to do your research, and that's what they help you with. That's what we help you with. Like, you've got it covered. Now, for example, Glenn from Ecamm, and this may have been in the group, if you're a part of the Ecamm group, that he actually was doing some comparisons and looking at different capture cards. So that might be a great video for you to watch if you're like, I don't know which one to buy. I don't want to have bad quality. Okay.
Hey, I want to share a little secret real quick.
Oh, secret time.
This is one the original follower of Church Media Guys back when I was starting this, trying to figure out what I was going to do back in the Blab days. Okay, if anybody remembers that. One of our original followers is a retired gentleman that his name is Tommy, and he's in a very small town in northeast Alabama, and he felt the need to start doing live streaming. And so the church was like, what's that? Why do we need to do that? Not understanding the ability that would bring to them. And what Tommy did was got one of his old computers. He got the $60 version of vMix, installed it on his thing, and then had a standard def camera and hooked it up, with the old red, yellow, and white cables, and got started. And then as he started kicking it up, he found that these $50 webcams that they're not webcams, security cameras, IP cameras. He bought one on a lark and said, I wonder if I can live stream with it. And he put it in there and set the delay and got it working just fine. He is doing like a 5 or 6 camera live stream at his church each week using these little $50 IP. Sometimes he gets them and they don't work. Sometimes, and he sends it back, and then the next one does. He's rolling the dice, but he is playing with a very limited budget, but he's maximizing the crap out of it, building something from nothing.
You guys, you got to get creative, right? Like,
you get creative.
Right now is the time to be innovative, think differently, look at people that are doing this stuff outside of churches, right?
Yeah.
And get ideas. It's really important that we step out of our comfort zone right now and get creative. So we're going to still talk about accepting offerings and tips for you guys. But right now I want to focus on music. This is one of the biggest questions that we're seeing left and right from churches, because here's the deal. So Facebook, if you're going live straight to Facebook or YouTube, there are copyright issues you have to be aware of. You cannot play copyright music. Otherwise, Facebook will definitely mute your video, if not take it down on the replay. And then also YouTube, you might get a copyright mark. And then if they actually strike you, there are different levels of of copyright claims. That's the word I was looking for. They might claim you or they might strike you. If you get 3 strikes, you're out. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, I actually pinged Dave here a couple weeks ago. I was like, let's talk about this because this is a big issue. So Justin, Dave, who wants to tackle this music issue?
Not it.
Do what?
I said not it.
Not it.
All right, so first off, understand that we're not attorneys, okay?
Yes.
And also be sure you understand that Facebook owns Facebook and YouTube or Google owns YouTube, okay? So they are under no obligation to do anything other than what they want to do. I mean, that's it. They obviously can't do illegal things. Now, there is a couple of different licensing groups that churches use. The most common one is CCLI. I can't remember what CCLI, Christian.
It doesn't matter, does it? Acronyms, whatever.
Licensing, whatever. CCLI, a lot of churches already have a CCLI license, okay? And what that license allows them to do, there's different levels of it, But in essence, it gives them a mechanical license to create and perform the music, and then they can have the right to record and distribute that music. They can have the right to live stream that music. So depending on where you are, a lot of churches have had a CCLI license for years. That's why the choir can legally take the choir music and make 10 copies for 10 different parts or something. So it covers things like that. It covers if you've added it on, the broadcast and streaming ability of the music as well. One of the main things that is in that is that if you are performing the music, which means you have your guitar player playing the guitar part, and you've got a pianist, and you've got the drummer, and you've got a praise team singing backup, and someone leading, singing the song, doing things like that, you're performing that, okay? Then you can stream that. If you're using background tracks, like we only have one person, so I need background vocals, so I'm going to play the track, the CD with it to accompany it or something like that, then you can run afoul of that stuff.
So what you're saying is that so like CCLI, it will not be seen by Facebook or YouTube. Is that correct?
Okay. Legally, you can fight it if you have this license.
Got it. Okay.
But what they are going to do, are they going to honor that? Okay.
Well, it's definitely not going to be like an automatic thing, because they
not with Facebook. Right. With YouTube, it is. Okay. So a number of years ago, if you'll remember, Lyria, I had a movie show.
Yeah.
That I did. And I actually had a subscription to a digital media kit company that all the studios put all of their generic interviews, their trailers, their promotional artwork, all that sort of stuff. And when I would review a movie or talk about a movie and stuff, I would go to that source and I would download, clips of whatever movie it is, and I would put those in and show the trailers and do all that sort of stuff, doing literally what the studios and the distribution houses asked me to do. We have put this up here, the same thing that NBC does when they review a thing, or when Fox or whoever else is reviewing a movie, when the commercials are coming out, all that sort of stuff, the interviews, all that. And I would put that in our show, get it uploaded, and then I would get a content strike. And then all I had to do was to dispute it. Unless YouTube has changed it, when you dispute it, it basically opens it back up for up to 30 days, and they have 30 days to respond. And I would say, I had a form letter that I typed out that says, here's what I'm doing. I have an account with these people. I'm doing literally what they've asked me to do. And by doing this, I'm following the lines, blah, blah, blah. Here's a copy. You could upload the PDF if you need to, do that sort of thing. And what I found out was, after doing that several times in a row, they finally went, okay, seriously, this guy's legit. Just stop.
Okay.
Stop.
Interesting. Yeah.
And there would be the occasional manual one where somebody tried to claim it was theirs and steal the monetization and stuff like that. And I would fight that, and eventually that would get taken care of. Facebook seems to be a little bit different. They seem to shoot first and then let God sort everything out.
Well, here's the thing: is with YouTube, you actually have a dispute process. With Facebook, right. You do not. I mean, you could, but it's going to fall on deaf ears.
I have a link that was to dispute, and I found it, and I hold on to it like grim death. I don't even know if it's still done anymore. One of the things, when we go back to the discussion of virtual church versus live streaming your church, one of the things that I have told people to do if they start to see that Facebook is muting their stuff, you've got two different audiences on YouTube and Facebook in general, and I know you've talked to this with your audience as well. There are people that are on Facebook that the only time they'll ever see a YouTube video is if someone links one and they click on it. There are people that everything that they consume comes from YouTube, and Facebook is for their grandmas or whatever. So they're two different ecosystems, and I tell people that a lot of folks, when they go to Facebook and they're scrolling through Facebook and they see things, they they would less likely be willing to engage in your church service as a whole
Yeah.
versus engaging in the sermon or the Bible study or what have you, because that's the meat that the learning is going to come from. If they're looking for praise and worship music, the reality is Justin does this, I do this, my wife does this, our worship pastor does this. They don't go to their church's website or their church to engage in listening to praise and worship music. They're going to Spotify and making a playlist. They're going to Pandora. They're going to AccuRadio. They're going to YouTube and building a playlist or something like that of their favorite praise and worship bands or something. So if I want to sit at home and worship with the music, I may be more likely to go make a playlist somewhere versus go to my church's website and take a look at the 20-minute worship set from my church.
Well, I mean, that has some validity, but at the same time, I've seen a lot of people actually using that, like Leslie Samuel, for instance, right?
Uh-huh.
So he goes live with him and his wife.
Different.
And they're doing songs and everybody's joining in, and it's more of a connection kind of thing,
different.
right? Why is that different?
That's different because what he's doing there is a purposeful thing. That's the difference between doing online church and doing live streaming your church. You're not he's not live streaming
Right.
the worship set at his church, and then you have to sit through that for 20 minutes or skip and hope you get to the right thing. Now I'm too far in and I have to move back. Okay, now the pastor's walking up.
Yeah.
I can do. So these are different things. It's live streaming a concert versus a portion of something else. What he's doing is he and his wife are developing an audience around their singing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's the same thing that what was her name that we used
Daria Musk.
Daria
Yeah.
that we used to promote the snot out of.
Yeah.
It's that same kind of thing where I'm going to be doing some praise and worship this time, just like Daria would be doing her music or any other artist would sit down and do their thing. That is a separate, engaging, purposeful experience versus the first 25 minutes of an hour, Sunday morning experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that's one of the things that I'm telling people is that you don't necessarily have to live stream your service at the time that it normally happens, where you have to gather people and do all this sort of stuff. What you can do is you can actually put these pieces together and then upload them as a full package and do a watch party, do a premiere, do something like that. Or you can do it separately, where we're gonna upload worship on Tuesdays, and Sunday mornings we're gonna do a Bible study together, something like that.
Like we were talking about earlier.
Where they're separate. So again, we're in right now. It's so funny. Our pastor, for those of you that are really tuned in, the book of Acts is about the establishment of the church. It's the Holy Spirit comes down at the beginning and hits, and then churches start being created, family churches, home churches, all that sort of stuff, and then the whole New Testament happens. It's so funny. Here we are in the 21st century, and a lot of churches have been shoved back into a first century church type of a model, but we have the 21st century tools to accomplish that, hopefully in an even more effective way than they did. They were writing letters, and all the stuff that Paul wrote in the New Testament was his letters to the churches at these towns, trying to help them get their crap together and straighten out issues and teaching them and doing all this sort of stuff. We're kind of right back there, except we've got 21st century tools that we can use, but we have to use them deliberately and in specific ways according to the medium that we're in right now. We're not doing communal live events. We're not doing live concerts. We're not doing any of that stuff anymore for a while.
Now, this is, and well said on that. Bill Mann said that Loop Community and Multi Tracks have given permission to use their tracks for live worship. So that's great. And hopefully that means that it won't get flagged. And then also Alan actually said, breaking news maybe. I haven't gotten an online version yet, but our pastor sent me a copy late last night. Hillsong has set up a special procedure to give churches permission to live stream their music and their service during the pandemic. That's huge. So
and also I heard, and I haven't verified this, but I've heard it going around that CCLI is allowing their streaming package for you can have the streaming package for the next 3 months or 90 days or something like that, kind of in this interim time.
Okay.
I haven't confirmed that, but I've seen that information passed around, so be looking at that as well.
Okay.
But it's also it's not expensive. It's like, I don't know, $100 a year or something like that. It's not like a big, huge, budget breaker, even for a small church.
Justin?
Let me just tag it here, just to make sure that everyone's crystal on this. CCLI licensing, and if it is true, and I hope it is, God willing, Hillsong gives their blessing. These other organizations are saying, yes, use our live loops. You have our permission. We're not going to go after you. All of this is still, with Facebook and YouTube, a defensive position. Facebook and YouTube can still content strike you or knock you down because they don't know better. And then you come and say, as a defense, same as fair use, no, we have permission to use this, and then they'll re-put it out there. Facebook and YouTube, they have no idea. Their bots have no idea. Right. Their AI probably has no idea, and it will have no idea for a few weeks or months that you have permission. So just because Hillsong says, yes, you have our permission to stream it, does not mean that Facebook's not going to take it down or YouTube's not going to take it down. This is a defense the same way fair use is a defense. Their bots and AI have no idea that you're doing parody under fair use and that you have legal permission to do this. They're still going to take you down, and you have to then go to them and say, no, this is fair use, or no, we have the streaming license, or no, Hillsong said we could use their stuff. You provide the proof, and then they put your stuff back up there. So don't think that this is a magic wand that, yes, we can stream everything now. There is still going to be some hiccups in the AI and in the bots that you still have to fight, and still some stuff that you're going to have to come to the table and say, YouTube, no, we have permission, or Facebook, yes, we have permission, or whatever the platform is. So just be aware of that this streaming license and these permissions, they're right now probably going to be more of a defense than it's allowed and we won't have any problems. So just be aware of that.
And one of the things that normally happens on YouTube is the copyright holder, you just get a notice that says, hey, the copyright holder has got a claim on this, so they're going to be monetized for this, not you. That's basically all. They don't mute stuff. They don't do anything like that. They just, Justin and I monetize on our YouTube channel. We're a business, so we want to monetize. We want to get a little ad revenue and stuff. Most churches are not monetizing. They don't want ads popping up in the middle of their service and stuff. So it ends up being a little thing, and they always say, you don't have to do anything on your part. It's no big deal, and you're still in good standing with us and all that. So you don't have to worry about it. YouTube has done a lot better job of this for a much longer time than Facebook has. And by the way, Lori, there's one more point after we talk about the giving and stuff that I want to bring up.
For sure.
In regards to what streaming destinations you need to be using.
Okay.
So we can hit that whenever you're ready.
Before we get there, I just want to, one thing is to note is one way around this defensive mode that Justin is talking about is that you can use services like Epidemic Sound, which we have like a free trial that you could see if there is kind of relevant Christian or to your denomination or whatever.
Or the style.
Yeah, the style maybe. Like, so if you were watching our countdown, like those are all Epidemic Sound songs. And you can maybe find some songs through Epidemic Sound, which actually connects to Facebook and YouTube and tells Facebook and YouTube you have the license. These other services, as far as we all know, don't, right? The CCLI and those don't like have that connection point, whereas Epidemic Sound does. So while you may have to think differently again, there are alternative options to not having to play the defensive mode, but you're not going to have the same songs necessarily that you had before because you're buying the license, and then it connects to YouTube and Facebook and says, we've got it covered. You don't need to copyright, or you don't need to claim us, right?
Almost.
Yep. Why don't you go ahead and tackle that? And then as soon as you're done with that point, we will move on to talking about accepting offerings, tips, suggestions, and all of that. And then I know you guys have additional questions. We're going to tackle those at the end. Go ahead, Dave.
One of the things that kind of hit me a couple of weeks ago when this was first beginning was that a lot of churches, one of the questions we get is, should I stream to Facebook? Should I stream to YouTube? And should we do Twitch? All these different kind of questions. And our standard answer is always, where are your people? Typically, most churches, the people that are in church are just demographically going to be people that are on Facebook a lot. So it makes sense to live stream to your church's Facebook page and then share it in private groups and all that. That's a whole nother topic, by the way, groups. But in a situation like we're at right now, there's other considerations that people need to think about. There are people in every single church across America that they are there every single Sunday. You know them. I know them. Luria, when you were growing up, you knew those people. You could point to somebody. It's like, she's there every single Sunday, and I always get a hug. They're those people. Typically, they're older people. They are not on Facebook. They may have an email account. They may get on Facebook every now and then. If a nephew shares a video with them, they may click on it and like it or laugh or something like that. But they're not thinking, social media first. Okay, they may check their email once a week, if that. Okay, but they've got cell phones. Okay, and more are getting, like the jitterbug and some of these basic smartphones and things like that. So when you break down what is happening, you've got people in your church like us that live half of our life online, and it's natural to think like this. So making a transition from physical church to virtual church is not that hard of a fence to climb. Okay, but these other people, they don't know what's going on because they're not plugged in digitally. So what's the lowest common denominator when it comes to communicating with them? It's email and texting. And when it comes to streaming, Facebook has barriers of entry. Luria, you cannot share a link with somebody on Facebook and then click on it and go to Facebook and watch it.
Hold on.
Prompt to log in.
Now, though, Facebook just announced yesterday or the day before that they are now going to allow people without a Facebook account to watch a Facebook live stream. So that is definitely a possibility.
Good.
So I would say, like, even for those people, there's now that opportunity.
Good. What I was getting to is that YouTube needs a link, and that's it. You don't have to have an account. There is no barrier to entry. There's no prompting to log in. You can sit there and watch a video. Plus, that video can be embedded cleanly on your website. So if they know that the church has a website, they can just go there to that thing and click on sermon and then watch the video.
And you can embed Facebook, but it's not great.
And that's another thing. A lot of people are asking about, hey, how do I put my Facebook live stream on my page? You can't.
Yeah.
You can embed a video that's on Facebook in other places. I've seen that, but the reality is that Facebook is meant for this kind of interaction back and forth. Okay, on their platform. YouTube is more ubiquitous. I've got it on my television. I've got it on my phone. I can click a link. I can do. You can always take a video, and what we do, what you do, anybody who's anybody is doing it. What you do is you take your Facebook Live player, the player for Facebook Live, and you get that code and you embed that on a page on your website, and you make it mygreatchurch.com/live. And so when they go, you just go to /live. That's all you have to do. And then when they click on it, if there's something happening, it's there. If there's not, there's a picture. That's
exactly. All right, let's keep moving because we've still got a lot to cover, and I want to make sure that everybody gets their questions answered
pick smaller topics this time.
I know, right? Like, this is a massive topic.
Don't pick things that matter.
There's so much to talk about, and I can't tell you how many questions we've gotten. I know you're getting them too, and eCam is getting them. Like, so that's why we decided to do this, and we're spending some time on it to answer your questions. So the last thing that we see a lot is offerings, you know,
Giving.
the giving. Yeah, like churches make their money based on offerings, and
And churches still have budgets and overhead, even though we're not there taking up an offering right now.
exactly. So that's a big concern for a
Yes.
church. So talk to me, guys, about, you know, what the options are. Obviously, I mean, they could go as simple as like PayPal,
Right.
right? I mean, that
Well,
was my first thought.
so the technicality aside for just a second,
Okay.
because we've moved to this virtual existence right now, giving is not the first and foremost thing in people's heads. You know, when you're there and you have an offering time, or you've got boxes in the back, or every week you fill out your check and you bring it with, it's part of your routine.
Right.
That routine is gone right now. So pastors, and this goes back to, I said you almost, I don't know if I said, maybe it's just you and me before the thing, that churches need to be overdoing it right now. Because we don't have that physical connection, your church needs to be doing something like in your social platforms, and engaging at least once a day, if not multiple times a day, engaging with that audience and keeping that audience there. This is the time, and I'm not lying, this is the time when churches are going to fall apart, and when small churches are going to crumble and not be able to come back if they don't do this and handle this time right. And that, when you're handling this right and having that engagement, then you're keeping that body of believers stimulated, okay? And then that can allow you to do the giving. And there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. Justin, you want to talk about some of those?
Yeah, sure. So there's a couple things here, depending on who we're talking to. I imagine most of our audience are the tech team. And so they're really concerned about the technical specifics. Mm-hmm. And you look at all these different giving platforms and you say, who cares about all these guys? Let's just do PayPal. It's easy. It's done. And we can get money. And that's true. You can just create a PayPal account. Someone can transfer you money and you can transfer it to your bank and you're done. As a technical team member, that's all we need, right? As a church administration member or as a pastor, that it may actually be pretty hard. And that's the reason we have giving envelopes when someone gives cash. Because again, as just a regular member, you say, well, just give cash to the church. We're done, right? No, because it is a tax, what is it called? It is tax deductible gift. Mm-hmm. So you need to be able to track who's giving money to your church. Not only that, you have to be able to generate reports. What budget line item is this giving go towards? Is it going towards general budget? Is it going towards missions? Is it giving towards a special gift? Right now we have a coronavirus budget line. And so we need to be able to make sure that that money that you give for coronavirus does not go towards anything other than coronavirus relief. Groceries for the elderly, or gas payment for someone who lost their job and needs to get out there and interview for the job at your grocery store or whatever. There's a lot of overhead that goes into giving, and that's why we have all these different giving platforms. I don't want to name all of them because I don't want to play favorites, but just three that I come to mind real quick is Tithely, Rebel Give, you got PayPal obviously, Easy Tithe. Those are like the three that just kind of a lot of people are using right now, but those are not the end. Planning Center has their own giving platform. I'm going to forget a lot of people. That's not an exhaustive list, okay? But they all do different things. They will all integrate into your church management system, which is kind of like your CMS, your customer management system for your church members. And if that might be an important thing, because that's going to save a lot of man hours. And so you have to really take that into consideration. Not only that, when you have an online giving platform, the sad truth of it is there's going to be a processing fee, which right now I think is 2.9% plus a quarter or something like that. Different platforms will have different processing fees. This is not going straight all the way to the giving platform. This is also going to the card companies that say we have to get a percent of this transaction. That's the cost of doing business. And you might say that's not fair. And I know a lot of church folk that say, I don't want my God's gift getting taken from processing fees. But the other reality is when you write a check, someone has to take time away from ministry to go to the bank and cash that check. Yeah. So there is always going to be a fee when you give. That's just the reality of it. Okay. If you use one of these giving platforms, then automatically when I give $100, guess what? Yeah, a 1.5% or 2% or 3% of that is going to go towards the platform, but Now my pastor no longer has to go inside the church management system, earmark it for me, go to the bank, cash that check, wait 2 days for that check to clear, and maybe I only cash the check on Mondays. So the check I write on Sunday might go to the bank on Monday, might be on Wednesday, but now I can give any time, and I know that 2 days from now, that money is going to be available for someone to get coronavirus relief or whatever. So long story short, there's a lot of platforms out there. You need to find, again, there's no cookie cutter solution. You need to find the one that works for your church. And I would encourage you, something brand new to the church giving scene is to find one where those processing fees can be covered by the donor. That's really important. And many of the ones that I mentioned do that. And so when I give $100, yeah, about $2.50, $3 is going to go towards the processor. But there's an option in the software that says, do you want to cover the giving fee of $3? And it'll do the math for them. And I just check a box and I'll say, okay, yeah, that's fine.
It's
I'm
like
already given $100. What's 103? Go ahead. And now the church is getting that full $100, and I'm covering the $3 in addition. And the greater the gift, the less of a percentage it kind of seems to be. So that is a huge thing, and you're just going to have to eat that right now.
Yeah.
But the reality is, right now, if you don't have an online giving platform, you're getting nothing. You might get a couple $1,000s mailed to you in a check. But if you do give an online platform, you might get $10,000, and minus the fees, let's say worst case scenario, you make $9,500 or you have $9,500 given. What is that compared to a few thousand,
right.
3,000? You've still come out ahead. And then of course, if your donors are covering that processing fee, you're coming out ahead even more. Most of them will integrate into your website. PayPal is very user unfriendly at times, and it's very administration unfriendly. So that's like a worst case scenario. If you just can't do anything else, fine, PayPal. If you're not expecting a lot, DonorBox will do up to $1,000 a month with no processing. So if you're just not expecting a lot, but you'll be surprised how much will be given to a church of 50 or 100. They'll meet that easily with one gift. So those are a few options for you. And if you have any questions, by all means, ask away, because this is kind of where my bread and butter lies. Dave, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, one thing you need to remember is that, again, you've got those people who that's a very out of the box thing, and they don't know how to set that up or do it. They still send in, a check each week to pay their water bill, or each month to pay their water bill or something. So you have to keep that in mind. What we're doing at our church is we've got tatesprings.com/give, where you can set up and do a one-time, or you can set up a recurring, and it tracks, in the back end and all that sort of stuff. But and we're doing this intentionally every week. In fact, in a couple of hours, we're going to be meeting to record a short worship service and our our pastor's Bible study. And one of the things that we do when we start off is we do one song, and then our pastor talks for a minute and welcomes everybody, and he reminds them that during this time, that it's important that people continue to give. And he says, go to tatesprings.com/give, or here's our PO box, where you can mail it to us. And they are working right now to put in a mechanism so that people, almost like a mailbox, let's think, where people can just drive up and drop it in a slot as they can, and then they drive away. So it's kind of a hands-off kind of thing. Even though our offices are closed. So we're putting in several mechanisms, and what we are seeing is that people are still being faithful. And one of the reasons I go back to that they're continuing to be faithful is because we are talking to them on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Multiple times a day at various levels.
All right, we're going to play a quick game before we go into Q&A, okay? Because there are multiple people asking for a repeat of those services, Justin. So before you do it, all right, here's the game. Viewer interaction right now. Somebody has to take control of typing this list. Okay.
Actually, I just typed it in a
comment.
comment.
You did? Oh, okay. Well, game be gone then.
I can't. I drown out Dave easily. When he's talking, I'm just in the comments. That's just a habit now.
Well, there you go. There's Justin's list for you. I thought we were going to have a whole bunch of fun here for a second, but that's okay.
Sorry.
Wow. Way to go, guy. Justin.
I open up the envelope in the clue game. What does this do? Sorry.
There you go. There's the list. I'm going to leave it up for a second while we kind of, wrap this up and go into Q&A. Stick around if you guys have questions and we'll tackle everything. Now, is there anything else that you guys want to cover real quick to wrap up the conversation?
I want to loop back to just one thing because I cannot emphasize it. Every church is unique and has a unique congregation that they're uniquely equipped to serve in a unique way. Did I say it enough? Unique New York. Someone mentioned, they multicasted to Facebook and YouTube, and their audience was 1/3 Facebook, 2/3 YouTube. That does not mean that every church needs to go stream to YouTube. My own story is our church, First Baptist Edinburgh, we multicasted to Facebook and YouTube. 90% for every 9 people we had watching on Facebook, only 1 person was tuning into YouTube. Our audience was on Facebook, and they were engaging on Facebook so much. YouTube ended up just being like a broadcast that no one engaged with. And Facebook, people were praying for each other, wishing everyone happy birthday, and hey, shout out to this person. Give me more information about this announcement that was made. Stuff I'm watching from this city. People love sharing where they're watching from, and that's just something our church inherited. And so it was very unique to us. So our audience, Facebook really worked for us. There are some churches, online churches, that do an online church that is specifically geared towards gamers, and they stream on Twitch because they know what Twitch is and they love it, and they use Discord. They don't use email as far as that I know. They use Discord chat apps, kind of like Slack for gamers. And that's what they do because that's what their audience is and that's what they're equipped to do. And you could not take that and translate it into the average local church. Right. That's okay. The average local church can keep streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Some will do well on Periscope because their pastor has a huge following on Twitter. Yep. And that's fine. You're uniquely equipped to do something unique. So don't just think it's working really well for this guy, so why isn't it working for us? You got to experiment and play around and double down on what's working.
Which brings up one last thing that I just have to tell everybody about. When we talk about being where your audience is, our church was staying engaged. One of the hard groups for us to remain engaged with is the kids.
Yes.
The kids are and if you're not careful, church, the kids are going to fall by the wayside. Your youth leaders need to be engaging with them. And like at our church, we've set up these pods where we've got some of our junior and senior high, juniors and seniors that are leading Bible studies with the underclassmen and the junior high kids. And we've got they are the ones who are teaching them, and they do these little 5-person Zoom things once or twice a week where they're doing this Bible study. So you've got older kids teaching younger kids, mentoring them and doing stuff like that, which is fantastic. But what do we do with our grammar school kids, with our 4th, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders? My family pastor and I were talking last week, and we said, we should do a Minecraft server. So we put together a Minecraft server, and it's invite only. And we tell the parents, look, you do need to keep an eye on this. We're going to be in there as much as we can. Grown-ups and some of the high school kids are going to be in there trying to keep an eye on everything like that. But we've turned off some of the things, like you're not going to have the zombies, and you can't do player versus player and kill people and doing stuff like that. But it's just a safe place, and kids love to create and they love to play Minecraft and stuff. So we've provided a place for them to do it. And then our family pastor and I are figuring out a way for him to actually do like a little Bible study once a week in there. So his avatar, and they're going to gather around, and he's going to talk, and he's going to copy and paste stuff into the chat. And there's something in the chat that can convert it to audible speech. So we're making this work a very unique type of situation, and reaching those kids on a level where they are. They can't run around the church and hop out on the playground and do Bakugan during a covered dish lunch or something like that. They can't do that right now. They can get in here and play together. And we've actually got a couple of videos over on the Church Training Academy YouTube channel that talk about that and actually show how to set it up. But again, out of the box thinking.
Yeah.
You got to reach the church where they are right now.
I love it. I thought when you told me about that, I was like, that's so cool. And everybody in the comments is loving it as well, right? And that is what you've got to do. We've been harping on this the entire stream. Out of the box thinking, as well as, everything is not right for everybody, right? So think about your unique situation. All right, so you guys remember that there is all of the links that we've been talking about are in the description. I have a gear guide for you for simple at-home setups. Dave Curley and Justin have access to, a downloadable guide for you guys to take that to the next level and think about the future of your for your tech setup, and all kinds of other resources for you there. So make sure you click the links. They are from churchtrainingacademy.com. So it's perfect for you guys, right? Like we get a lot of churches around here, but I was like, I've got to get these guys on because that is what you focus on. That is your thing.
We are the church media guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, make sure that you ask or dig into the links that we've provided to you, as well as continue to ask questions. If you're watching the replay, we will continue to answer questions. Just make sure that you have this conversation with us and let us all help you go forward quicker. And remember, I do have that free challenge in April to help you get more confident on camera if that's something you're struggling with as well. Now, we have some other questions that I want to tackle. And this is a really good one, and I can't put it up on screen because it came in earlier, but Mike said, our church is finding that streaming is becoming a necessity because increasing it is how people choose a church before they visit. And what I want to take that even deeper with is, hey, like this now, the here and now, what you do right now is not just to survive, but it's also going to have a major impact in the future of your church attendance and people discovering you, right? And you have a huge opportunity right now to have an online church and reach even more people. So what do you guys think about that?
Absolutely. That's how people are church shopping now. Yeah. Most people, there's a lot of churches, especially if you're in a metropolitan area, there's a lot of different churches, and people, we don't have the time. We don't need to take the time yet to go and this week we're going to this church, and this week we're going to that church, and this week we're going to that church. And months later, you found your home church. Just like house shopping, what do? We go to a place like Zillow or something like that, and we see what's going on in the area, and we narrow it down. And then we take a Saturday and we go see this one and this one and this one. That's what people are doing now more than anything, is they will go to your website, and Justin could probably give you statistics, but they will go to your website and they will, before they even look at a live stream or anything, they will make a judgment about whether they're going to go any deeper just by looking at the homepage of your website and getting an idea of, do these people really care about me? They will go to your Facebook page, and which is, for good or bad, is the public face on Facebook of your church. So you need to be very careful about what you have on there. Don't have the funeral arrangements for Miss Betty, because Luria, if you're looking for a church, while you may feel sad for Miss Betty, you don't need to know about her service right now.
Although I will say, funeral live streams have been a thing for the last 2 years, and they're probably going to get even more popular, just for what it's worth.
Of course they will. But people will they want to know. Justin likes to say that he will watch a church's service and their pastor to find out if it's a crazy pastor or not, and then he'll whittle it down from there.
Justin, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so I'm going to try not to go too far in the rabbit hole on this, but most people are going to make most people are going to make their first impression based on your website, and they're going to judge you based on what you have on your website. And the short of it is, when they visit your website, your social media, even your live stream, they're not looking for reasons why they should go to your church or why they should care about you. They're looking for reasons why they should not go to your church. They're looking for reasons why they shouldn't, why you're not for them, why they won't belong. And so you have to remove all of those barriers. And when you live stream, and not even live stream, when you just record your stuff and put it on them there for them to preview, they'll be able to see, okay, Pastor looks like me. He talks like me. He might even dress like me. The music is kind of like the music that I like. Everyone seems so friendly. If you have a greeting time, at least pull the camera back out and show everyone being friendly to each other. People seem to be loitering around after the service and actually care about each other. The men are opening the doors for the women. This looks like a place that I might belong. There's a lot of happy kids there. They did a little, this kids page has a little video devotional there. This looks like a place that I might like to, visit sometime. Versus, okay, this church website, well, they got a nice brick building, no one in the parking lot, and their services are at 11 o'clock, and that's it. Not much there for me. Let's go on to the next church. You see the difference versus when I have a live stream I can watch, maybe I can participate in. Tell me more about this pastor, about the pastor's story. Tell me more about this announcement. That is huge as part of representing your church, not only to potential church guests, but also to the world, to show that you are caring people. We try to make videos. I encourage churches, whenever you do something like, for example, if your pastor's going out and fighting the crowds to buy groceries for your elderly members, make a vlog about it, because that shows that when I give online, my money is not just paying for the pastor's electricity bill while he's at home and his groceries. It's actually helping Thelma get groceries because she can't go out because she's immunocompromised and she's 90 years old. That's a huge thing that makes me say, okay, this is a place that I feel comfortable giving. As far as live streaming, absolutely 100%. It lets me see what you're doing live. I know it's not edited. I know exactly that this is what I'm going to get on a Sunday. I can preview it. Maybe I go to the church and I can't make it the following week. Of course, there's traveling and people sick. They can participate in live stream. And, let me just say this one thing here. There's some people that teach that, live streaming's hard. It's not really worth it. You might get a few people watching. It's better for the pastor to do his own thing. Going back to the university classroom, would you rather, if you pay $900, $1,200, $1,600 for a class, would you rather, if you can't go to class, have a live stream of the classroom of the professor teaching the 30-minute, hour-long lecture? Or would you rather get an email that, hey, this is Professor so-and-so, this is what I taught today. It's only 15 minutes long because this is kind of awkward. All right, bye. And you're like, oh, man. Like, that sucks, So, live streaming 100% is going to get people more engaged with you and let them participate with you versus just a canned live stream response after the fact.
For sure.
Yep.
A related question from Mike was wanting to know if they should consider getting an app, or if that's just like something. I mean, I personally would say, like, right now, don't worry about it. Just keep moving forward. Like, this is the time for action, not let's get an app and let's do all the things.
That right now.
What?
Don't get bogged down in that right now. The reality is, you remember when we were all pissed off when the iPhone came out, but there was no apps or anything like that. And Steve Jobs and all them were like going, no, you'll make your website so that it can work like that. And then people started making their websites, and then you could put the little button on the home screen for this website. And now everything's kind of ubiquitous. Websites are not websites anymore. They are hosted apps, basically. And as long as you're using design specifications and techniques and stuff that are, I don't know, 7 years old or newer, then your website is going to work fine on your phone, and it'll be just as snappy, especially if you're using some of the newest stuff that's out there, the stuff that Justin does. It's going to be just fine. So you don't necessarily have to have an app. I would say that if you're going to want to put any kind of development into that maybe you should look at putting the development time into a Roku channel, which is something that I plan on putting a course together on how to do that. There's some neat options out there for folks, and that is something that I think long term could maybe be a little more beneficial than just an app on your phone. Is the ability to just go up there and click, and then
go through
an entire Bible study, a last year's 12-week series on the book of Revelation. Okay, great, that's on demand. I can sit down and study this as much as I want to now.
Okay. But for now, stay focused, keep moving. Christy says, are you using an ear monitor to be able to hear the other speakers? If so, which ones are you using?
Like, as in,
are you wearing headphones?
No, I'm not wearing headphones. I've got these Rocket Fives that you got me about
Uh,
7 or 8 years ago.
So the beauty of so I am wearing earphones, right? I use the Me Sixes, MEE6, because they're flat, they're flush, and you can barely see them. The beauty
They
about
fit in tiny
Ecamm,
ears,
what?
and they fit in tiny ears.
I have tiny little ears. I have a tiny little head, even though you can't tell. Um, Nothing fits me. But the beauty about Ecamm that I'm using right now is it has echo cancellation, and it really helps take care of, those that feedback issues, which not all software does. So especially like, yeah, so just something to keep in mind there. And then we had one more tech question that I want to tackle.
And I've got a couple that have come in on our channel
Oh,
as well.
okay, yeah. Are any of you using the A10 Mini right now? I get a stutter or skip. I'm not using the A10 Mini. We actually, David Foster, my partner at Live Streaming Pros, isn't a big fan of it. I don't think either of you are using one right now, right?
We're not using one right now, but we tell people that well, right now, if you can find one, it's a very inexpensive way to get beyond the broadcast level, or excuse me, get beyond like desktop mode and like move into broadcast mode, which is when you start doing things like the higher end Blackmagic stuff, the dedicated hardware like our TriCasters and things like that. The ATEM Mini is a great stepping stone. One of the major drawbacks, it's $300.
Yeah.
And you can put 4 inputs. You can plug 4 HDMI signals in. By the way, that means camera or computer, so keep that in mind as well. What it lacks or one of its downfalls is there's only 4 inputs. Okay. Now, when you're using computers, you and I, Luria, regularly use NDI, which is another specification that's out there. But
if that's confusing you, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. We teach about that stuff. But basically what that means is that like I'm using vMix, okay? And with vMix, I can have cards that I plug my HDMI cameras into, okay? But then I can also say my computer that's sitting over on this desk over here, I could bring Justin up on a Skype call and then make a virtual input that is just going over the network. And it's clean, it's smooth, it's great, it's wonderful. And no one knows that it's not hard plugged in, through a video cable. But the ATEM Mini is a great stepping stone for kicking up to the next level. One of the major things that it lacks is a multi-view. So like on vMix, on TriCasters, on bigger Blackmagic Studio software or hardware, you can basically see every single camera that's coming in and can say, okay, Bob needs to get a close-up over here. Bob, get a close-up of Luria, she's talking. And then, okay, can you show me the people in the, camera 2 is going to show you the people in the crowd. Camera 3 is going to be a wide shot, and all this. You can see, okay, this person's ready. I'm going to do camera 2 and make it go live. I'm going to do camera 3. You can tell someone to get it ready and then do all that. What you have to do with the ATEM Mini is much more like what you do with, say, OBS, where you have a preview window and you have the program window. The program is what the world sees. The preview is the shot that you're going to go to next and a place where you can kind of get that shot ready. So like in OBS, you may have a whole bunch of different scenes in there and you have to go through and go, camera 2, okay, they're not ready. Camera 3, hang on. Camera 1, okay, great. Camera 1 is ready, and now I can cut to camera 1. So it's a great stepping stone, especially if you have a limited crew and have cameras deployed and you set them and forget them, then you just know that number 2 is going to be this, number 1 is this one, no movement, no anything like that. I can see that I need to do this, and that's great.
All right, we're going to go rapid fire here to tackle the rest of the questions. You've got one last one from here. This is actually really important to talk about. Any advice on churches that pre-record and stream it as live? This frees up staff to engage by commenting pros, cons. Just so you know, you cannot. It is against terms of service to stream pre-recorded content and act as if it is live. For instance, if you put it out there and people think you're live, that's against terms of service. It will also, outside of that, it just breaks trust.
Right.
So you need to have a pre-recorded, tag on the stream or something. So just know that you can do that if people are if you are very clear about the fact that it is pre-recorded. And, I would do a mix of recorded and live if you want to do that. To be clear, because everybody always hears that and thinks you can't ever play a recorded video on live. You can, as long as it's a mix of live and recorded. All right, Dave, what do you have over on your side of things for comments and questions?
Someone was asking, had asked about safely meeting online with kids and students.
Well,
one of the things,
Zoom has a big privacy or a big security breach right now, so that's probably where that's coming from.
Right. So Zoom is a fantastic, absolutely fantastic piece of software, and their service is unparalleled. I mean, it is great. Okay. Right now, they're having a problem where just randomly, heard this the other day. So you got a youth group that's meeting. Their youth pastor steps away for a sec. The kids are all kind of talking amongst themselves. Someone else jumps in there and is showing porn on the thing, and everybody's like, "Whoa, wait a sec!"
Well, thanks for demonetizing this video, Dave.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
Somebody did something like that, and it messed everything up. Okay. Right now, the suggestion is that make sure that your meetings are password protected and that you're using your church communication software to get that information out. If you're using, email software, whether you're using the regular commercial stuff out there, sometimes some of the church stuff is really, really good and handles it like the rest of the world does. And sometimes it's the weak point in their system and you need to use something like, Active Campaign or Constant Contact or something like that. But the idea is that if you've got these segmented lists of the people, you've got the youth group list and you got the parents and the kids that are in that list and their email addresses, then you can send that information out to just that one list, and just those people will have it with the password and can join. Now, can they give that information to one of their friends? Of course. Can their system be part of a bot farm? Of course. You can only do so much. Yeah. When it comes to little kids and stuff, that's where parents come in. That's why we don't just turn our kids loose, on Facebook. We sit there with them and we're watching, Luria, my wife's a preschool teacher.
Remember, Dave, why did I just do that? Rapid fire.
Yes. Pre-record, parents be parents.
Perfect. What's the next question?
I don't know.
You've got comments over there on your end.
I'm looking on my phone.
In case no one's noticed or picked it up, Dave's the tech guy. Okay. Any tech questions he's gonna answer. Any strategy or administration questions I'll take over, or marketing questions. So
and that's exactly how it works with David Foster, my partner on Live Streaming Pros. He's the tech guy, and I'm the strategy
You notice
person.
I'm not talking about camera models or the A10 Mini or any of that.
Someone is asking, actually, Justin, someone's asking, outside the USA, giving and donating and stuff, can things like Tidely and stuff take euros and stuff like that? Do you know?
Yeah, a lot of the ones that I mentioned, I believe will, but again, just go to their website. They will have a list, either in their FAQs or their terms of service. They'll have a list of the countries that they can operate in.
Yeah.
Someone's also asking about chatting and commenting and stuff during the service, and should that happen? Should you have commenting turned on or off and all that sort of stuff? Yeah, here's the deal. Online video and live streaming and social media. What's the very first word in the term social media? Social.
Yeah.
Which means interaction, which means people doing that. Now, it is rude to talk in church during the middle of the service, unless you are giving a big amen or preach it or that's right or doing the stuff that we do at church when someone says something, the same thing we do when we're watching TV by ourselves and someone says something important, we're like, yeah, that's right. Like you did, Luria, a minute ago, going, whoa, calling people out, So that's okay. in those circumstances, but just, hey, how you doing? What's been going on? How's your life? And so, it's rude to interrupt the pastor doing something like that.
But in social
Online,
and live, okay, that's where you're going.
Online, it's completely different. It's a different ecosystem. It's a different culture because we are commenting on stuff. We're asking questions. I can't sit there. I may lean over to my wife in church and go, where did he say to turn to? And she'll say, oh, Matthew 5:7. Oh, 5:7. Okay, great. Thank you. But during here, when they make a point, it is highly encouraged that someone, he says, and that brings us to point number 1. You need to blah, 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 blah. Okay, somebody type that in the comment. You put that out there for people. When he gives a scripture reference, put that scripture reference out there so someone will see it. That they can, oh yeah, I missed that. My kid was going crazy. Where are we? Okay, great. Now they can turn to it. Yes, comment. Have some moderators, people in there that are greeting people when they come in, that are doing things. If you talk about community. If you know that Miss Tilly is having a problem and maybe getting sick, and you don't want her to have the coronavirus or something, and you see Miss Tilly shows up in there, hey, Miss Tilly, just want to say good morning. This is Justin. Just want to tell you I love you and we're praying for you. Yep. That's community. Do that, please.
Joel.
Yeah, 100%. Just like we're having people are having conversations inside the chat on Facebook that I have up. Ecamm is talking with other people, answering their questions. I'm answering people's questions. I'm talking to people. Our moderator on our YouTube channel is talking to people, and that is not disrupting the conversation that we're having. Not only that, you want to get to the point. You want to be asking questions and encouraging engagement. One of the things that I believe that I teach that every church should be doing on their live stream is the first thing you do is say, good morning, where are you watching from? And find out where people are. People will often, sometimes once they get comfortable, they'll start oversharing, but in a good way. So instead of I'm watching from Virginia, they'll say, oh, we're taking a family road trip to Virginia. We're watching it right now in the car. We're in between this place and this place. And
the burgers are good.
And the burgers are good. And Phil in the back says hi to his teacher, Sunday school teacher. She misses you. And you're just like, yes, we're having conversations here. And then I can go to his Sunday school teacher, Miss McMillan, and say, hey, Phil said hi. And he said he misses you. And she says, oh, I missed him too. And then when they come back together next week, it's going to be even more joyous because he expressed that he missed her and she expressed that he missed him, and you get to see that. Then you get to get a picture of it and put it on social media. But all that to say, we've had members saying, hey, it's my wife's birthday today. Shout out to her. I can't see it because I can't say anything because I'm overseas, but happy birthday to Maggie and the crowd. And you get people sharing prayer requests, asking for follow-up information on the announcements. Encourage it. And there's this great little button. It's I can't pronounce it, BLOCK or something like that. You click on that. If someone's being a troll or being a jerk, block them. Gone. There. Problem solved. Now they don't have to bother everyone else out. Escort them out out the room, so to speak, and carry on with life. It's you can't negate that for fear of someone saying something bad. Let people socialize and be a part of the chat and be part of a community when they're alone. And probably if they're not in church, and they normally are, it's a bad day. Let them talk and not just be a fly on the wall, but be buzzing around with the other flies.
Absolutely. All right. Sorry.
Ramesh wants to know what we're using right here.
We're using
Ecamm, Ecamm Live, which is just a really easy to set up and deploy broadcast software, streaming software, where it's see what we're doing. It's real easy. It doesn't take a whole lot of technical expertise. Justin and I are actually using Skype, and we have one Skype session and a group call, and with Ecamm she's able to split them up, which is really cool.
Yeah. And that answered the question that I had thrown on there from Joel. So it is Ecamm, but in order to simulcast right now, because we're going to 5-6 different places right now, we're using Restream, which it integrates with Ecamm very easily. However, the thing is the reason that Dave was answering a few questions and I wasn't putting them up on screen is because I'm connected to his YouTube channel via RTMP, not just directly connecting to those channels. So with RTMP connection, you can't pull the comments up on screen, but everything else I've got here, right? So, all right, we are going to wrap this baby up because it's a lengthy one. But if you know somebody who can benefit from this conversation, please do let them know. Send them the link or tag them in the comments so that, you know, because like Dave and Justin and myself, we have seen just a massive, massive, massive need for this conversation. So I hope this was helpful. Give me a big yes in the comments if you found it helpful. And Dave and Justin, just go ahead and plug yourself once more.
So go to easylivestreaming.com and you can get our free guide, Live Streaming for Churches the Easy Way. What is going to happen is you're going to get that guide, and Justin and I are putting the finishing touches on our new gear guide that will be then coming in a few days to you, as well as we're putting together a free crash course basically on getting started with live streaming. And we are tackling how to get fired up with Ecamm, if that's what you have access to, or how to do it with OBS, something that is free and out there that you can just grab and go with. How to use Zoom for your Bible studies. We're kind of putting several of these little pieces together in I got to do virtual church crash course, and that will be coming to you as well. So get the guide. Most important thing that happens when you get the guide is you get into email contact with us so that we can start feeding you some of these other resources out there.
Thank you so much.
If I can share one more piece of thing here, not about us, but about one of our members. We have the Church Training Academy Insider Program where people can get one-on-one, group coaching with me and Dave. Sometimes we'll just pick up the phone and call you, but you basically get access to us every day. And one of our guys has been with us since the beginning, Tommy. He shared something on Facebook that I'm telling everyone. I'm tweeting it, retweeting it. I've asked friends to retweet it because I think it's so good. Tommy said he's getting more attendance online now than he ever did in church before the virus.
Yes.
And Tommy has been laying groundwork. He's fought a lot of battles. He's done a lot of janky setup where you might look at it and say, man, that is a janky setup. You know, you might say some other things about it, but he fought a lot of fights and he did a lot of battles, and he's been doing this on his own for years now. And I think a lot of people would have quit before today. But Tommy is now seeing, and we are now seeing Tommy's fruits of his efforts here, that in this time when, especially at an older congregation as he is in, more people are tuning in than ever came in person. And I am just so thankful and for Tommy's hard work, and I'm sure his church is thankful. He laid the groundwork and had a lot of fights and a lot of negative feedback, but he knew he was doing what he was supposed to do, called to do, and equipped to do. And now everything is paying off. So as we put in the efforts right now and we say, man, this is really hard and we have to do it on a budget and this isn't what we want to do. I mean, Tommy, correct me, Dave, Tommy had like a camera on a pipe on the ceiling or something like that. It was something crazy. He did what he had to do.
Yeah. He took an umbrella, like an umbrella holder from a patio kit or something, you know, and used it as a thing to mount a camera. He's the guy that bought these $50, you know, IP cameras. And has been putting them around, and just, I mean, he's the perfect example of is accomplishment versus perfection, getting it done, and then just refining over time. He just started firing and then took aim as he went, and it's and one of the greatest things about that whole deal, and I'm not trying to be ageist or anything like that, but he's my dad's age, okay? He's like close to 70, okay? When people are saying, oh, I can't, it's passed me by and I can't do this and that's not how we've always done it and doing all this sort of stuff. I mean, he's got more energy and fervor about this stuff than Luria and Justin and I combined, and it's just making a way. So, quote unquote, if an old guy like him can do it in an old church full of old people and make it work and stuff, oh my gosh, how much more can the rest of you with no excuses do?
Well said, Dave. All right, you guys definitely follow the links. Go follow Dave and Justin because they've got a ton of resources for you guys. And if you don't know me, I'm at livestreamingpros.com, and we help you with pro live streaming setups from your home or makeshift office studio. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. And you guys, Justin, Dave, thank you so much for spending the last couple hours with me and just giving and giving to the community and helping people. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Luria. Thank you so much.
All right. At the end of my streams, just so you know, we raise our hands and we say bye. That's
Bye.
you guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye, guys.